Hello everyone, and welcome to One Control Port Quick Play of Dragon March for Death. This is a IntiCreates kind of action RPG that in some ways kind of takes after both like a Castlevania style game or like post-Night Castlevania style game and like a more of a Monster Hunter structure, so you select quests and go out on missions and things like that. But it's to me at least, it still feels very IntiCreates in terms of like how its characters control and how kind of momentum still plays a role in this game, even compared to like games like, Gunvolt and Mighty Number 9 and things like that. So to go ahead and get started here, primarily this is a multiplayer focused game, and I largely played this with another person. So I would definitely say if you're going to play this game, having friends is a big help. But I do think, on its own, it's still kind of a fun little romp to go through, and there's a lot of customization options. I probably should have stayed on that screen, but there's basically like four default characters you start with, and those four default characters have different move sets and things like that. So we'll get into that a little bit later. So we're gonna focus on Empress, which is the character I played throughout the beginning of the game, or through most of the time I spent with this game. And she's kind of like an average all-around kind of character. She kind of has some standard attacks. You can also do like your dragon arm skills. She also has like this gun arm thing that's basically in the form of like a dragon head. So when I shoot, I like launch back and shoot a little lightning bolt and things like that. So she's kind of like a standard, melee character, kind of go around and smack things. So the town itself is not anything really to write home about. You just kind of can walk through here. You can grab some specific story quests throughout this town, throughout the story itself. But for the most part, the main places you'll be spending your time is either at the bar, which is where you'll actually set up rooms and create or go on missions, or like one of the equipment things. So hanging out in the town isn't really something you do. Also, when you're online, you don't hang out in the same town together. So there's not much of a reason to spend time in town. That, and once you go to a store for the first time, it gets added to your shortcut menu, so there's not a lot of reason to explore the town either, outside of just when the game notifies you that there's a quest you can find. So we're in single player here, and I've already kind of played through a good chunk of this game on this character, so all this stuff is pretty much cleared, with the exception of apparently Training Grounds is marked as new still for some reason. Anyway, so you go ahead and just like select one of these missions, and since I've played through a good chunk of these missions already, there's like a bunch of clear markers by the different level versions of those quests. So you can see I did the 15, 25, and 35 versions of this level. You do need to complete the lower level versions of a quest, so even if you are like level 50 and you only have like the level 15 version of a quest available, you got to play through the level 15 version of that quest to play, which kind of stinks, especially on the back end of this game, because there's actually not a ton to do once we get to the end game. But I'll talk about the end game a bit later. So most quests start with like some kind of little breakdown here, and most of it's kind of frivolous. There is some, like, at least to me, it appears there's some deeper lore of this game if you really want to try to get into it and read into the story, but it's not the focus of this game. So very similar to like a Monster Hunter kind of thing. You have a quest start here, and there's a quest time in the top left corner, and in this case we got to go find like a phantom wine, which what that really means is just go through this level and kill stuff until we get to the wine. So initially when I saw this game, I definitely had like Dragon's Crown in mind first and foremost. But really, it plays more like a Castlevania style game. So I definitely, if that's what you're kind of expecting on this game, I could see maybe like structurally you can think of it very similarly. But from a gameplay perspective, it's definitely more like an action platformer. I'm doing great right from the get-go. This level in particular is a little bit more hazardous, but I kind of chose that on purpose. We're inside of this, I guess like a whale or something, so there's a bunch of, like, I guess, stomach acid coming out of these holes and things like that, and monsters around on the inside. And there's a bit of platforming in this level, where some levels are definitely a bit more flat, as I'll show you a bit later. So yeah, it's just kind of, pretty much this kind of standard action platform as you run around, you smack stuff. As you kill things, you get drops, things have levels. Also elemental weakness systems. I personally am currently set to be like a Thunderbolt element character right now, so like when I shoot my little magic spell, it has the chance of like stunning the enemy and things like that, and it also has like a property where it will like heat seek onto enemies as well after I shoot it. So I can go ahead and shoot that down and like it kind of heat seeks on, rather than like if it was a fire attack, I'd have to actually aim it or something. Now, one thing I talked a little bit about earlier is, you know, how each of these characters kind of feel different on their own. One thing that you can do, well, I guess what I really want to talk about is like how individual characters can differ as well. So like in the case of Empress, you know, it's a pretty standard moveset we have here, very momentum focused. I can kind of keep moving while I'm in the air and attacking. But when I'm on the ground, I have like this flurry of attacks where I can just kind of like, you know, stab away at foes. But I can also switch to a different weapon. So I have like this more like a standard short sword here rather than like a rapier. And with the standard short sword, I basically have like a 3-hit combo. And I also can continue to move and run. Or continue to move while I slice as well on the ground. Versus where I can only really do that in the air on the other combo. There's also some like standard skills that apply throughout. So I always have my dragon arm, but in the case of having a different weapon type on, it actually will modify how that dragon arm works. So before, you know, it would show that I would like, kind of like launch backwards when I shot it. But in the case of this one, I just stay on the ground and it just kind of hovers in front of me. And then since I have the electric skill, it kind of heat seeks afterwards. Same thing in the air. I don't launch back or anything with that, and things like that. So it's really like choosing your preference. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any real, you know, better option per se. And since you're able to like switch, you know, mid-mission, you know, there's options to you know, keep 2 different types of weapons on hand and adjust your play style appropriately for particular types of enemies depending on, you know, what you're encountering. There's also like the ability to kind of hold down the A button with Empress, which will shoot her little lightning hand thing, but also lets her charge up and do this like, well, let me see if I can do this without getting hit. I'm doing great. All right, let's try here. And then you can like shoot out a bunch of these like lightning balls, and the same thing there with like it actually like heat seeks. But if you had like a fire, it would be like a fire breath or something like that. In single player, the game pauses when you actually stop or pause the game. But in multiplayer, everything continues to move and things like that. So each of these characters also have kind of different movement options as well for navigating the environment rather than just like attacking. So in the case of this spot here, you're gonna see on the right, I'll just drop down so you can go look. You're gonna see on the right, there's this treasure chest here that I'm not gonna be able to reach. I think there might be one on the ground I can. Yeah, this one here. So you can see up there's a treasure chest up there that I can't reach. And depending on your character, there's different ways they can kind of navigate up. So there's like this shinobi class, and they can kind of like, I think they can kind of climb walls. I actually haven't played them. I think the mage has the ability to like make platforms below them. And then so they can do like a double jump kind of thing. And then other characters just have like, have to use more environmental things to get around. So in the case of Empress, you know, we have these little like orbs here, and I can actually throw like a grapple hook here and grapple on and kind of swing myself across and get there. And then so, you know, depending on the character you have, they may or may not be able to reach these, but they're always just like optional accessories that you can find. One other neat thing is that, like I mentioned earlier, when you have different weapons, it affects how certain skills work. So in the case of Empress, you know, I have this rapier, and then when I shoot, it like launches me backwards. So I could, instead of grappling, I could do something like this instead. So depending on where you're at in the environment, you can kind of abuse that to kind of fly around. It used to be more broken. You used to be able to fly for as long as you had an MP pull, as far as I could tell. But they actually changed it fairly recently, so you can only do it 3 times before you drop down to the ground, which made me very sad, because that's probably my favorite move in the game. so yeah. There are various like status effects in this game that it can affect your character. You know, you have the standard stuff like poison. There's also like a ice that kind of slows your character movement. Confusion, which sort of reverses your controls and things like this. This is like a boss room here, so we can, or actually this is like an enemy wave room, I think, yeah. So you can go do these enemy waves here and just kind of fight stuff. You know, you're gaining EXP and stuff like that as you go through these missions, and all these monsters have their own drops, and you also get like a like XP bonus at the end based off like how many things you kill as well. So there's reason to kill all these things if you want to kind of like, you know, clear out a level. Oops. I'm not playing super precisely right now. Admittedly, I probably never played this super precisely. I'm pretty... When it comes to IntiCreate games, I like to just kind of keep moving. So now we have like kind of a mini boss here, so he like shoots out these little poison bubbles. So you can see while I'm fighting him, like as long as he's not shooting me, it's always kind of best for me to kind of rapid strike. But when you're using the rapid strike, you can't actually move out of it, so you got to be a little careful, you know, to make sure you don't get stuck. So like right there, I was in the middle of slicing, so I couldn't actually run away. It's got to be a little bit more preemptive with that. So we go ahead and kill that. I'm poisoned right now, and there's like various leaves around the environment you can find that kind of heal different status ailments. Also, there's like a mage class, and they have the ability to heal status as well. So, let's see here. Yeah, so like right there's like a flower thing I can get. Now I'm not poisoned anymore, so. There are various items you can get throughout the game too. There's like those little gems that basically you'll use to like enhance your weaponry. And then there's like very like, you know, platforming elements here where it's like, hey, don't get chomped by the stomach teeth, which exists for some reason. I don't really know what reason. And I think it's worth mentioning that when you're playing this game multiplayer, you're not really locked to each other. Oh my gosh. So you can kind of run around the environment freely and just kind of do what you want. Now, when you get to the boss rooms, it does kind of teleport everybody to you. Although I think you can just say like, hey, I don't want to go fight the boss, and just keep walking around the level while everybody else fights the boss. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that might be the case. But you're kind of free to kind of run around wherever you want, so you can kind of split up, you know, take different paths, you know, clear out all these rooms and things like that, you know, more quickly. Especially if you, like, you know, are grinding a particular mission, you kind of know who needs to go where to get what treasure chest. Because there's some cases where you'll reach a treasure chest and Empress or something won't have the ability to actually get that chest. So having the appropriate character will be good for that. And it's all just like random drops from the chest, so it's not like, you know, you're missing out on any particular piece of equipment because, oh god, because of you know, your inability to go grab it. It's just like basically a little extra bonus that you're kind of forfeiting. I want that meat, but there's also a poison mushroom on top of it. So let's go ahead and switch over to the other sword here real quick and mess around with that one a little bit. I think this is the last room of this dungeon, actually. Yeah. We'll do the next mission with the sword instead. So so then at the end of the mission, you get a thing here. I think this is the Phantom Wine. So as you can see, like there's not. It's very fetch questy kind of stuff. You're not really getting many like unique objectives in this game or anything like that. And then once you finish the quest, you get this breakdown of items you get. You also get like various accessories and weapons that you can appraise. There's really no reason not to appraise them, so I'm not really sure why they make you press a button to appraise them. You can even appraise them one by one for some reason, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. Maybe originally you had to do that. This game has gotten patched quite a bit over time. So it's kind of transformed over the years that it's existed, although I think generally the core of the game has largely remained the same, just kind of rebalanced the game a little bit. So basically you get like a gold reward, you also get like an EXP bonus, and we're not going to level up when we're here probably, but when you level up, you do get the ability to kind of like customize your stats and things like that. And one thing I like about this game is that it seems like no matter which character you are, all these stats are useful for something. So even if you're like a big old warrior class or something that is mostly just like beefy axeman who hits things, he has skills that are affected by like, you know, magic stats and things like that are worth investing in if you really want to go with that play style kind of thing. One other thing I want to kind of show real quick, and I actually haven't done this in a while, so I'm not sure how it's actually going to work out here, but there's this place called the Den, and you can basically spend one of the in-game currencies, not a real currency, just like a item you collect throughout the game. And you can change your element, and you can see in the text here, it actually changes like some of your character stats as well. So in addition to like choosing different weapon types and things like that, you can kind of customize your character based off like this one where it's like shots are short range but strong, and you can also shoot in 2 different directions. This is like an overhead shot with the wind element. This increases the magic use but increases damage done and things like that. I feel like with the warrior, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe with the warrior there's like cases where like it actually affects how his melee attacks work and things like that, so it does like make changes to your moveset. So I don't know, let's do some ice. I haven't changed my element in a long time, so we did that. So we'll go do that and we'll go do another mission. The next mission I'm probably going to die horribly on, but the main goal for me is just to kind of show you, you know, a boss encounter or something like that. So we're going to go ahead and go to... oh, I went to the inn on accident. As far as I know, the inn doesn't really have that much use, but, you know. All right, so we're going to go to the bar. There we go. Go do another mission here real quick. Yeah, all right, so we're gonna go to the Ogre Fort, the first one of the game. We're gonna do level 50. I know I'm not gonna be able to finish this on my own, but we'll be able to get to the end of the mission at least, so I could show you the boss, and then I can die horribly. You know, most of the story stuff really doesn't matter. It's like, hey, guess what? Ogres, right? They're gonna kill people. This little kid, he's gonna die. One thing that I think is well worth noting, and something that you should be aware of if you do play this game, is there's like these side quests that are hidden in some missions, and there's not a ton of them, but they are required to finish the game, and the game doesn't do a particularly good job of telling you about these side quests. So in the case of this mission, you're expected to go right, but if you go left, there's this old lady here, and then she's like, oh, my son, something happened to him, and you're like, all right, dude. So you have this little side quest you can kind of go over here, and these goblins are like, oh, we got this pendant, and then I murder them, and then I got this pendant. Admittedly, this is like the first mission and the first one of these, so it's a very, you know, straightforward task here. But some of the later ones are like, hey, you have to defeat an extra boss. Some of them might be as simple as like finding a secret area with like a different set of lore or something. I think I may have ran past the old lady. It's fine. We're not gonna worry about it. So we're just gonna keep on moving. So you can see this level is definitely not as platforming focused, but there are places to explore. Like you can kind of come up here on these tree branches and get these treasure chests and things like that. So you could just kind of run right. But even like the simplest missions that are kind of the earliest ones do have like some complexity to their environments that I think they're kind of fun to traverse, especially as you kind of learn each character's different skill set and things like that. I guess this might be a good time to talk a little bit about like movement in this game. Is that everybody's kind of a little fast. Like there's definitely different characters who have different flexibility when moving. There's like a mage class that maybe doesn't have the same flexibility as other characters in terms of casting and moving at the same time. But like the warrior class is somebody who can like dash and like tackle enemies, and he also can kind of jump around and like do these like single slash hits that make it so he can just kind of hit an enemy and just keep going. Like he basically is like a bus running over everything. If you use them right. And then there's like Shinobi who basically can like fly around the environment and things like that. We'll see some other characters here at the end when I show you. Oh yeah, we have our ice gun here. So instead of like, you know, shooting out and seeking, it now has like this lob down kind of thing. Also when I do the charge, it kind of, you know, shoots above me. I also can actually aim it. So I can kind of point it around rather than with the other one where I just kind of have to aim it upwards. Poison, I believe, can kill you in this game, so we're going to heal up real quick. So here's like a case of like different characters need to do different things to progress here. So in the case of Empress, we have these little fruit things like we saw earlier, so whoop, and we can, oh, actually, no, never mind, we're not at that point yet. There is like a part in this map where like essentially a character needs to like also have different like a different skill set to kind of move forward. In this case, so you saw that barrel we saw earlier. The warrior has the ability to kind of like push carts around. So in his case, he would have like pushed the cart all the way down here and then use that to kind of climb up those branches and get out that chest. In the case of Empress, we can just kind of swing our way up there. So the warrior also can break like these wooden stakes and things like that, so it gives him more space to move around. And like I said earlier, the shinobi can kind of climb walls. So there's, depending on your character, there's a lot of diversity in like how you approach these levels. So here's the part where like the warrior needs to like push this cart to get up there. Empress can just jump it up just to kind of keep going. The Empress also has like this uppercuts or this downward slash kind of thing. I found it useful for like smacking enemies out of the air if I want to like combo them on the ground. But overall, like that, and then I can just kind of come up and walk up at them. But overall, I feel like there's some skills that just maybe aren't as effective or useful as other ones. So I definitely find myself favoring certain skills over others, or certain weapons over others. All right, so I got this guy. Oops. Let's see if we can breathe on him. Nope, too far away. So we're gonna have to breathe on this way. So it looks like he's kind of frozen right now, so he should be moving slower than usual. I can't really tell at this moment if he is or not. Oh, I just died. So at the bottom of the screen there, you see you have like a life bar, and when you die, you take away from that. And so your entire party shares that life bar, and if too many people die, it will basically be the end of the quest or whatever. So there's like a couple different paths here. You can go ahead and climb up and go over this little castle area, or if you're, I believe the warriors need it. It's actually blocked on this mission. But there's some cases where you'll go down here and you'll go through the castle instead of above it. I will say, like, a lot of these missions take place on the same maps and things like that, and they definitely do alter like the layout of them. But they're often just kind of not that different enough to matter. It feels very much like more of a Phantasy Star Online kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, it gives you some variety in navigating the environment and makes it so like, you're not just doing the same run every time. But it's not different enough to be like, oh, this is like an entirely new level or things like that. There are some interesting levels later on where it's kind of like a giant maze or something. Specifically, I think in the DLC quests, they kind of, it's maybe comes off as a little cheap, but they basically just like dump a bunch of rooms and connect them in a lot of ways. And it's not, it's maybe not particularly graceful, but because it's not, it kind of has a different feeling to moving around of it than some of these other missions, so. Oops. Alright, here we go. Alright, so we should be getting to the boss here soon. Here's one of those cases that, like, hey, Empress on her own normally can't get up there, but hey, what if I have this sword instead? I did it. So yeah, stuff like that I really like about this game in general. All right, we're gonna run down here. All right. So we're gonna probably die a horrible death on this boss, but we'll give it a try at the very least. So this is, I believe, like the first boss of the game. And as it gets to higher levels, it definitely becomes a lot more challenging. So he's gonna do that. I'm gonna try to get out of here. Oh boy! All right. I'm actually gonna switch back over to the other sword because it allows me to be a bit more flexible while I'm attacking. So, all right. A good swing there. Oh god. So there's a lot of pattern recognition in this game too, which I think is very like IntiCreates-ish. Oh god, everything's good. Everything's good. I should have like flew over. There we go. Okay. Oh dang it. Nice. Alright, one more try. We got one more life. We can do it. I only got 6/8 of his health bar left. There are these things called the dragon spheres that spawn in the boss fights, and they basically, I guess they kind of power you up, but they kind of feel a little frivolous, especially since they typically come at the end of a boss fight. Some harder encounters, they might, because they're dragging out longer, they might show up a bit earlier. And the game actually punishes you at some point for using it as well. So it's kind of a part of the game that I think is a little underutilized, because not only are they very rarely like presented to you in a situation where they'd be useful, the one like big early on case where it would be useful, they basically say, hey, you're not going to get the proper ending to this quest because you use one of those dragon orbs kind of thing. So we didn't get any drops there, but that's fine. It's all good and fine. So I want to show you a little bit of the weapon upgrading stuff here real quick before we swap over to other characters. It's kind of straightforward for the most part. You basically have the ability to kind of like do these, the ability to upgrade weapons and things like that. There's no specific materials for upgrading weapons. So you can see like with the knife here, or dagger, we get like a +1, +2. And you can see on the bottom right, there's actually like different like elements that get added as well. So you basically use these generic enhanced cubes, and depending on the color, that means they're worth more points. So the red are definitely the least valuable, and you also spend a chunk of money to go ahead and do the upgrade. In this case, it'd be 50,000 gold, which is actually, I don't have a lot of money, but I'll do it just to make you guys see this fun little animation. Boom, we did it. So we load up this dagger, but as you can see, This is like it basically combines the blah 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 words. So you basically level it up, and then you have the ability to continue to level it. And you can also feed duplicates of weapons for points as well. So even if you end up with duplicates of weapons, you can kind of feed those in to make them better. Now, one kind of annoying thing is, if you were paying attention earlier and saw my weapon names, you'll see my weapons are not on this list. And it's not because I fully upgraded them, it's because I have them equipped. So if you want to ever upgrade a weapon, you have to unequip it first, go to the equip menu, and then it appears on the list. So let me see, where is it? Here it is. So now it's on this list, and now I can upgrade it. All upgrades require money, and the longer you go in the game, the more or the higher level you get and the higher level weapons you get, the more and more money it requires. So it definitely, it definitely becomes very grindy at some point. And you also have the ability to like upgrade accessories as well. I jumped out of the menu on accident. We'll hop back in there real quick. And the like accessories in this game are basically just like another set of modifiers you can get on a character. So as you can see, I have these 2 equipment slots that you can upgrade, or you can attach them to. And you can also choose in the right. You can see on the right side of the screen, you can see that there's different stats associated with each of these. Actually, there should be more information, I believe. Is there not? Oh, at the bottom of the screen here, you can see what kind of like modifiers they have and things like that. There's also accessories that can only be equipped on individual characters. And one nice thing about this game is that even though you are, basically each character has their own progression per se, you do share your inventory between them all. So if you get a really good weapon on one character, you can use it, or you can go ahead and transfer it over to another character, or not even really transfer. It's just a part of your inventory in that other character, which I think is really a really nice quality of life kind of thing. You can't switch actual accessories or what weapons you have like equipped to your 2 slots during a mission, so you have to basically make choices based off that. But you can unequip accessories during missions. So if you do have something that's like, for some reason you wouldn't want it, during this mission I don't want minus 25%, but I only found out about that like mid-mission or something. Then you could use. You can unequip it during the mission, but you can't actually switch out which accessories you have equipped during that time or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and back out of the game itself here real quick. I'm going to go back to the title screen, if it lets me. Oh, we're saving, that's why. And as you saw earlier, basically we have like this list of characters here, and a lot of them I haven't actually started up. But from what I have played, all these characters feel very unique. So basically I have this warrior type character. Like I said earlier, he's kind of like the beefy, brawny type, but he also has like a lot of defensive skills, and he also has like a berserk mode he can go into. And he's probably the most straightforward outside of Empress, where he's just kind of like go hit things hard, basically. Where is that? It's gonna be the weapon shop, where I can smack the thing. So his big thing is kind of single strikes, but it depends on what kind of element you're set to, because the blue or the water element is more focused on single strikes, where other ones later on have like a more focus on a multi-strike kind of thing. So, I do a combo when I'm in the air if I hit him, but otherwise it's just like a kind of a single slice kind of thing. You can also, with him, like do this charge attack, and that causes him to smash down the ground. He also has like a berserk state, which causes him to do more damage, but drains his MP. He also gets a different charge based off that, where you can kind of smack enemies that way. And you also have like the shield you can put up. That shield can also heal teammates and things like that as well. And the size of the shield will vary depending on what element you are. So there's a lot of choices here in terms of, what type of configuration you're doing, and there's actually a ton of information in this game to kind of facilitate that. Maybe a little too much. If you go into the missions menu, or the tips menu here rather, you can see there's like basically information about Empress when she has a sword, information about Empress when she has a short sword. I lost it. Empress, here's the dragon skills for Empress. Here's the dragon skills for all these characters. Here are the different contracts, elemental contracts to these characters, and like a description of them and things like that. So this game spends a lot of time explaining a lot of information here, and there are some things in this game I had to look up outside like the flag system kind of thing, and like finding those like secondary side quests in certain missions. But largely the game has like a good chunk of information in the game. Although the loading screens, weirdly enough, will give you like way too much information. This one not so bad, but you can see how fast that load is. Like most of the screens, you do not have time to actually read what's on it. It's just, you know, it shows up there. We got a hint about the flag system on the loading screen that's very hard to read. So yeah. One other character I want to show you is just kind of show you how. Here we go. How different they can be. I'm going to talk through a couple of these other characters here real quick that I haven't played, but I have like read about, or the person I was playing with also played with. Shinobi seems like he's very almost like Gunvolt-like in some ways. Kind of. He has the ability to like kind of float around. So maybe more like Copen if you ever played Gunvolt 2 or beyond. But he basically can float around. He can mark enemies, and then when he marks enemies, that basically like heat seeks his attacks onto that enemy and things like that. I believe he also can like keep up aggro with those targets as well. So there's some interesting stuff with him, but I haven't given him a shot. The mage is kind of fascinating because it's not just like basically, you know, pressing one button for a fireball. You basically have a series of inputs or like button combos. You can think of almost like Mortal Kombat-ish in some ways, where you like put in a series of button combos and that creates different spells and things like that. And I believe those change with your elements as well. So there's just a lot going on with this character, and maybe I could be wrong, but maybe one of the more advanced characters. Oracle's kind of a mix between like a melee character and a spellcaster as well. And then Bandit's the only other character that I have. Now, Oracle and Bandit are downloadable characters, and they actually do require you to play to a certain point of the game to actually unlock them. And I kind of wish they didn't do that, because in the case of Bandit, you know, let's see how long I've been playing this game here. But like you know, I've been playing this game for 30 hours or more, and I like just recently unlocked Bandit, and I've kind of played through the game multiple times, like grinding out quests and things like that. I beat the game with both Warrior and Empress, and I've done a lot of the end game stuff with Empress at this point, and like I just now unlocked Bandit, and so it's like now you can start the game over with Bandit. I mean, like I said earlier, your inventory is still here, but you know, so let me go ahead and go over to the weapon shop. It took me a second to remember where that little fighting dummy thing is. But like Bandit is like super interesting because we're not going to see it because we're not in a mission right now, but it basically has like an inventory of items that appear in the top of corner of the screen. So he basically can use all these like different items and skills, but if he runs out of that item, he can't use it anymore. So what you have to do is use your dragon arm to steal items from the enemy. So, you know, while you're fighting and things like that, you can kind of like mix in some item stealing, and what items you steal is random as far as I can tell, at least. So you know, you could end up with you know, an excess of a particular type of weapon. So you might want to like, you know, manage your moveset in a way that or kind of focus on different types of attacks that are utilizing the items that you've picked up and things like that. I haven't played a lot with Bandit, but he seems really cool. But again, like I said earlier, like because I've already kind of played a good chunk of this game, and it took a while to actually unlock him, it's a little like, will I actually, you know, actually invest the time into Bandit to actually level him up again? You know, and that kind of comes into, or kind of introduces a couple of problems with this game's end game, essentially, which is, you know, while there's a ton of character customization, and each of these characters have a lot of their own like play styles that you can really explore and find a lot of interesting ways to approach a character, you know, just like in terms of movement, you can imagine this like side electric thing, you know, gives me a lot of, you know, left and right momentum with this character and things like that. It's the content itself maybe doesn't match up with the depth of the characters. You know, there are a lot of missions in this game, but it's you know, once you actually beat the game once, you're mainly just kind of revisiting the same missions at higher difficulties and things like that. And as you can see, this Ogre Fort quest has a lot of difficulty options. Some of them don't have as much as others, but it's basically just repeating the same quests over and over again. There is like some end game quests with like, you know, the Bandit quest to unlock the Bandit. That's like a high level quest. There's also like an endless dungeon you can kind of do, or not endless, but it's like, I think it's like 100 floors or something like that you can do. And I think that dungeon has like a special boss fight in it as well that I never got around to. But it kind of just lacks content for actually playing around with these characters. Now, that doesn't mean that, you know, this game, I think generally, like, as long as you're cool with that repetitive content and as long as you're happy with, like, you know, building your character and doing things like that, there's a lot to enjoy with this game. And one thing I do want to make out this game too is it's very, very multiplayer friendly. Like, you can basically play through the entire game together, where I feel like a lot of action RPGs and things like that will often not really think about what the multiplayer experience will be if, like, you're sharing single player and multiplayer content. So it can be a little challenging in terms of, like, you know, coordinating everybody, making sure everybody's around the same level and things like that. With this game, you have multiple characters you can level. You know, you can share inventory between all your characters, so there's a lot of flexibility. And you know, if you're leveling a character, you can also, you know, get some benefits for other characters as well. And then, you know, you can basically play through the entire game from start to finish with a party of people rather than having to, like, you know, go do a bunch of single player stuff. Now, the town itself is single player, so, like, you know, whenever you go back to upgrade and things like that, you'll have to quit the room or whatever. But it's pretty easy to put a room back together and join in and out. There's nothing really too convoluted about it. So if you're a fan of, like, how God Eater is structured, I think this game is very, very, very good in that same way, where it really keeps in mind the multiplayer experience and making sure, you know, it feels like you're playing a multiplayer experience from start to finish rather than a single player game that just happens to let you play multiplayer from time to time. Anyways, that's it for this game. Thanks for coming. Dragon Marked for Death, really cool game. I hope in the future I spend more time with this game. Maybe playing with some other people as well. It's just a really cool game, and you know, they've been putting out updates for this game, like, off and on over the years, as they've kind of really re-released it on other platforms. It originally was on Switch, went to PS4, and then went to PC eventually, or maybe it was vice versa for PS4 and PC. But as they've re-released the game, they've kind of put out more and more content in this game, and I think at this point you're probably going to be, you know, scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of enjoyment from those updates. You know, it's kind of appeasing to the long-term core Dragon Marked for Death player at this point. But I think it's definitely worth, you know, a good at least 20 or 30 hours of your investment, especially if you can find other people to spend time in the game. So, anyways, OneControlPort.com is the website. In terms of other games like this I've talked about, I don't know if I've talked about, Mighty Number 9. Mighty Number 9 is a great IntiCreate game that I know people hate. I love, though. So I'll go ahead and link that at the end of this video here. I did not like Mighty Gunvolt Burst, so I will not link that video because I have some pretty salty opinions on Mighty Gunvolt Burst. And yeah, if there's anything else I can think of that will be relevant, I'll link it here too. But yeah, thanks for coming. Again, OneControlPort.com is the website, and I hope you have a great week. Bye!